You know what it is. Thursday, January 19th. Give us this day our daily bread. Welcome to Daily Bets. I'm Dane Martinez, the Spittin Statistician here on FTN Bets. And today we're doing a little three-person weave. We've got Taylor Mathis joining the show. We're going to do a little bit of props for Divisional Weekend. And this is the debut performance of my man, Drew Jitsu. Andrew Valencia joining the show as well, because we've got UFC 283 on the horizon. So we'll get some looks and plays and leans for that as well. But Taylor, I got to start with you. Last time we talked, we were wondering if your Dallas Cowboys could get past Tampa Bay. We were almost firing Mike McCarthy, but the conversation has changed because Dallas has gotten through. So I got to ask you first, how are you feeling? What'd you think about that game on Monday night?
I feel great. Dak definitely had his moment, and he needed that moment. Yep. 305 passing yards, 4 TDs, 1 rushing, and no interceptions.
Right. We lost the interception prop. Right. We thought that was free money, and then he doesn't do it.
Well, hey, it has been the last 7 weeks prior, but that's all right with me. I'm fine with it not hitting for the sake of my team. Dak looked great. Our O-line looked great. Yeah. Defense sacked Tom Brady twice and had an interception in the end zone, which was huge. I loved what I saw. I think we go into Santa Clara this weekend and upset the 49ers as well. I think we needed that confidence in the way they won to roll into this game with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. I'm a little surprised that we're as big of underdogs as they have us at right now, 4 points. Yep. I think Dallas outright wins it. I like a lot of dogs, though, this week. So,
all right, let's dig into that a little bit. I saw it at 3.5 or 4. I've got a prop for you that I think you'll like. You said that you liked everything you saw on Monday night. I've got to ask you a follow-up, though, Taylor. How do you feel about the Dallas Cowboys? It looks like they are sticking with their place kicker, Mr. Maher, who went 1 of 5 from extra points. And, literally, okay, he misses the first one. Whatever. He misses the second one. It's like, okay.
What's going on here?
He misses the third one, right? Then they score another touchdown. I literally go to my wife. I'm like, no way he misses.
No way.
Right?
I know,
way
right?
He misses another one. They cut away to guys like I see, like Michael Gallup, Dak Prescott on the sidelines, right? And they're like, he missed it again. So I got to ask you, are you comfortable? You said you're going to Santa Clara. It looks good. You think they're going to win outright. Are you comfortable with your kicker?
I think so. I'm hoping that was just an off game. I mean, Brett Maher's been amazing for the Cowboys all season. I'm hoping it was just an off, random, weird night for him. I still have trust in him. I understand Mike McCarthy not just getting rid of him after that game. Of course, we got a little bit of insurance now. We got a little backup that we signed this week to bring with us to this game, which I think is a nice move. I still trust Brett Maher, though. I think we'll be okay. I'm hoping that was just an off game for him, a very off game.
It was a very off game. To be quite honest, I don't think I've ever seen a game more off than that, but the Cowboys survive and advance. Underbettors were very happy with Brett Maher, to tell you the truth, because if he didn't miss those extra points, that game would have gone over. But let's turn the page right now. I call this the best weekend in football. The 1 seeds are in. We got 2 great games on Saturday, 2 great games on Sunday. So let's dive right in. The first game on Saturday, Taylor, are the Kansas City Chiefs getting in action in what may be their only true home game of the playoffs, and they welcome Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what's interesting to me is it seems like you are consolidating all of your plays around someone specific, almost like a nice little SGP for that one. Why don't you tell us who you are on in Chiefs Jags?
This game in the AFC is one where I'm completely not questioning the favorite, especially coming off of a bye. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid off of a bye, 28-5, and with Patrick Mahomes under center for Reid, even better. He's 9-1, averaging 30 points in those games. So I'm calling a Chiefs win. And one thing that we know we can always count on in a Chiefs victory is the best tight end in the league to show up, Travis Kelce. He's going to contribute. Going with Kelce over 6.5 receptions to start. Kelce's hit this over 30% of the time through his last 10 games and had 6 receptions against the Jags back in November. But through 15 playoff games, Kelce's hit this over 8 times. 7 of those have come with Mahomes as QB. Also, I'm going to go with Kelce over 79.5 receiving. The Jags give up the most yardage to tight ends in the entire league. And Kelce had 81 yards against them earlier this season. The Jags are also bottom 10 in allowing the most touchdowns to tight ends. I'm going to sprinkle on a Kelce anytime TD as well. He has 12 touchdowns through 15 postseason appearances and 12 trips to the end zone already this year. You could take all 3 of these bets separate as straight bets, or my Travis Trey same game parlay.
There it is.
Kelce over 6.5 receptions, over 79.5 receiving, and an anytime touchdown. Best bet on that coming out to plus 185 on DraftKings.
I take it. Listen, what do you think about that, Drew? Because I got to tell you, if I'm going to kind of make some correlated props and load up on one guy, yards, receptions, and a TD, I don't know anybody else this weekend that's probably better to do that with than Kelce. Are you in solidarity here on daily bets? You like Kelce and the Chiefs, Drew?
Everything she just said, I like all of that.
Bang.
I will be taking that to the cash window, so thank you for that.
All right, that's what's up.
Hey, I hope it hits now. I got more pressure on me.
You're matching up like a strength of the Chiefs, right, against the potential weakness of the Jags. So I like that a lot, and we'll see kind of if it comes through in the first game. Now, a lot of people are also really intrigued by the first game on Sunday. It is a rematch, obviously, of what happened when DeMar Hamlin went down in the first quarter. Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills. This time it will be up in Orchard Park. Bills Mafia will be there. And a lot of people, Taylor, are expecting this kind of shootout, right? Josh Allen, Joe Burrow going at it back and forth. A lot of people are on the over, and I think you like production in that game as well, yeah?
I definitely do. Cincy going into this one, 5.5 point dogs. I feel like Burrow uses that fact that he is an underdog as motivation. It gives him that chip on his shoulder. And if I had to choose between Burrow and Allen to build a team around, I'm going with Burrow every single time. Great players to me ride on that line of cocky and confidence. And Burrow does that just perfectly. And that's why I'm going with Burrow over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Burrow in 16 full games during the regular season, he hit this over in 11. Burrow has 35 TDs on the year. That's third in the NFL. And during the regular season, anytime Burrow had a game with just 1 touchdown, he followed up the next game with at least 2. Last week against Baltimore, he had just 1. So if the pattern continues, we will see him get at least 2 this weekend. Burrow's strength is really being able to process defenses. He sees exactly what they are doing pre and post snap, and he's able to make those adjustments to beat those defenses. No one thought Burrow and the Bengals were going to make it to the Super Bowl last year. And at the beginning of this year, a lot of people wrote them off early again. But yet again, here they are up against the Bills, who are the Super Bowl favorite. I again like the dark horse in the Bengals and Burrow, going with Burrow over 1.5 passing TDs. And dare I say it, I think I'm going with an upset there too. Bengals over the Bills.
All right, fair enough. You're on the Burrow touchdown prop. I am not mad at that. I think this is kind of, to be honest, kind of the spotlight game of the week in many ways, right? 2 teams that both are considered legitimate Super Bowl contenders. You talk about confidence. And Taylor, anybody that can rock like a white tiger striped suit certainly is not lacking in confidence. So I'm with you on Joe Burrow. The only question I have, and we're going to have to see how this plays out. If you remember in that wild card matchup against the Ravens, the Bengals lost not 1 but 2 of their starting offensive line through injury, and getting pressure on Joe Burrow has always been kind of the kryptonite for the Cincinnati Bengals. And so that does have a concern for me if Buffalo will be able to get pressure, how he adjusts to that. But you got to believe that Joe Burrow's been dealing with a piss poor offensive line for about 1.5 years now. And so it's no kind of, difference. Remember that game in the playoffs last year, I believe against the Tennessee Titans, he was sacked 9 times, and yet they still won that game and advanced. So absolutely, I like that as well. I've got a prop for you, Taylor. I've got a prop for you that I think you are going to like over this weekend.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, everyone's talking about the Niners defense is so great. The Niners defense is so amazing. The Niners defense doesn't give up anything. Well, Kenneth Walker went over his rushing total last week, right? And in the last week of the regular season, Jarrett Stidham and the Raiders put up points against this Niners defense. Geno Smith and the Seahawks put up points against this Niners defense. I saw Dak pretty much find something on Monday night, has been a lot more decisive, and I don't know if I'm there on the money line just yet, Taylor, but I do think Dallas is going to at least keep it close, and I think they're going to score. So give me the Dallas Cowboys team total over 20.5 points. Some places it's at 21.5. Some places it's at 20.5. Make sure you get it. I think this defense that gave up points to Seattle, gave up points to the Raiders, and I think we're going to get a kind of back and forth game here. I think Dallas, remember, there were times this year, Taylor, where they were scoring 40, 45 points a game, right? Their offense was incredibly dynamic. I think there's a little bit of a return to that. So give me the Cowboys over 20.5 points. The last thing I have for you here, Taylor, I got a question for you. And it's not like a gotcha question. It's a fun one because, I talk with you about props on today. Tomorrow, I'm going to have our guy Benny Ricciardi join the show. We're going to give out more props. And I've been seeing a few streaks. And there's an adage, right, in sports gambling, like winners bet with streaks. You keep on riding the streak. And I wanted to ask you, which do you think is more likely to continue? I want you to help me here with an anytime touchdown prop. You ready? And here's the question.
All right.
Because Dawson Knox, the tight end for the Bills, who, by the way, I always think of Dawson's Creek when I see him do something, and I'm like, I don't want to wait for last to be over. Every time he does something, you could ask my wife. It's crazy, right? But he has gotten a touchdown in 5 straight games. Okay? Not to be outdone, Jerick McKinnon, the running back out of the backfield for the Kansas City Chiefs, has scored in 6 straight games. So I'm pretty interested. Both of these guys are plus money for anytime touchdowns, Taylor. In your opinion, which should I prioritize? Which streak do you think is more likely to continue, McKinnon or Dawson Knox getting into the end zone?
Oh, gosh.
That's both. You can do both.
I was just going to say, part of me wants to say both of them. I feel like Dawson Knox is a good option there for Josh Allen to go to. I think if I had to pick between the two, I think I'd go Dawson Knox over Jerick McKinnon. Possibly. 6 kind of scares me going on to that 7 straight number. I'm like, is he due for some regression here? That's what I'm kind of thinking. I think I would take Dawson Knox over Jerick McKinnon. Although I do think the Chiefs are going to put up a lot of points against the Jags. I think this is the end of the road for the Jags.
Yeah, I do too. I think it was a cute story, but I don't think they go on the road. You talked about the Andy Reid after the bye and so much. Like, listen, I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be that team that lays the egg. Maybe the Eagles will. Maybe the Niners will, but I don't think the Chiefs will be that team because they have that experience. You know what I mean? They've been there, done that. They're not going to be caught. Remember, a couple of years ago, they were down big to Buffalo. They were down big to the Houston Texans, I believe, or the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. So I think they know not to get caught off guard. I actually think they're going to cover the number. Now, a back door may be open with Trevor Lawrence in the kind of fourth quarter, but I do believe that the Kansas City Chiefs will at least advance to the AFC Championship game. Well, Taylor, I do want to make one more point here when we still have you, because you were talking about the Travis Kelce number. And over on the prop shop, let me tell you something. Over on the prop shop, Travis Kelce has a huge range. Our guy Chris Meany put it out there a couple of days ago. It was 76.5 in some shops, and then it was all the way to 85.5 in others. Now it's gotten a little bit tighter recently, but make sure you go to the prop shop. So that's my homework for you, Taylor. Make sure you go to the prop shop with all those Kelsey plays, because you can get a great number when it comes to that with your little parlay. Sound good?
Yes, 79.5 is the lowest currently right now on the receiving. So
all right, that's where we're hopping over.
6.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks, Taylor, for joining us. We'll be sure to put in all those plays, and we'll also remember to go on over to the prop shop and make sure you get the best of the number, because that is what really needs to happen. Thanks so much for joining us, Taylor. As always, we will see you next time around, and we'll also see if the Dallas Cowboys are still in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game. Thanks, Taylor, for joining us as usual. We are back here, though, on Daily Bets. Jiu-Jitsu, Andrew Valencia is in there. Not to be outdone, Drew. I mean, we got the NFL playoffs, big things going on, but UFC 283 is also this weekend. No shortage of action to get there as well. Thanks for coming on and chatting it up a little bit. First, I got to ask you, Drew, we see trilogies sometime in the fight game, right? We'll see 3 sometimes, and there's been some great ones. I can't remember many times where guys renew hostilities a 4th time. I know Moreno got the decision or it was a draw the first time, right? But Figueiredo actually had a point taken away from him to help kind of create that majority draw. Then Moreno gets the submission 2nd time around. Figueiredo gets the decision 3rd time. So we're like 1-1-1. Then Davison gets hurt, right? So it's Moreno who gets it back from Kaikara of France. And now we've got to renew hostilities. First, before we get into some of the picks for this, how rare is it to see a guys not have a trilogy, but a quadrilogy or whatever that would be called?
I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think it's ever been done. It's the first time that we're going to see 2 fighters face off for the 4th time. Like you said, I can understand a rematch. I can understand a trilogy. I mean, we've seen it, but a 4th time, I mean, how much tape can you watch? How many angles can you look for? And, it's exciting. The only thing that we can expect is improvements on both sides. And I don't know, man, I'm excited for it. Personally, I think I have some good spots that I found for plus money.
Let me ask you first, before we get into those spots, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said it yourself. How much tape can you watch? The guy's going to try to go for this. This is his favorite submission move, or he prefers to, stand on his feet, whatever the case may be. The fact that it's the 4th time, does that benefit one fighter over another? Is there one who's in better shape? Is there one where the age is a bigger deal? I remember back in the day, Canelo Alvarez against Triple G, right? And by the time they actually fought, Triple G was in his late 30s. You know what I mean? So is there anything like that now? Who do you think the fact that this has been 2.5 years in the making, does that benefit one fighter over the other at all?
I think it benefits Moreno. If you're asking me personally, the reason I think it benefits Moreno is because as it's been 2.5 years, he was still younger when they first fought. And Figgy, as I like to call him, is still older. So coming into this fight, he's a little bit older. And he's having weight cutting issues, which we've all seen and on Twitter world is on fire with. But like I said, they've all made improvements. And if anybody can make the improvements and actually show their improvements like they did, is Brandon Moreno. Because, listen, out of all 3 fights, the one thing that stands out to me the most is who got the finish? Brandon Moreno, who was the only fighter out of all these fights who, when he turned it on and looked, sharp, he was the one that got it done easily. Yeah, Figgy always gets his shots in. He always has that one shot that might sting Moreno because he has the power behind him. But the difference, in my opinion, comes with the pace. So if anybody's going to have any improvement because of this time off, it's going to be Moreno. Because of this 4th fight, it's going to be Moreno.
All right, fair enough. It looks like you on Moreno there on the money line to win this fight at -120. And then I got a follow-up for you because, I'm trying to not necessarily lay -120 all the time, right? But hey, we're going to put some things together. I know you got some plus money for the other fight. You mentioned that Moreno was the only one who kind of got the finish, in his victory. But it looks like you think the better play in this one is that this fight goes the distance, championship rounds, maybe to another decision even. You expect a long one, right?
Yeah, so in this spot, we may be dealing with a little bit of chalk to be completely honest with you. It's at
That's
minus
right.
155. But if you don't like that one, the reason I go with the over 4.5 is because there can be a finish at any moment in this fight due to the fact that Fig does carry the power throughout the entire fight. And Moreno can always find a sub if it gets to that situation. But you can also find the distance prop if you wanted that at minus 130. So you can take a little bit of that chalk off if you wanted to. So yeah, there's a couple of different ways to go about it, but I feel like this fight will go the distance because outside of that second fight where Moreno stopped Figueiredo, which there was also in question which if Fig went into that fight hurt, so that could also be a reason why it kind of the finish happened. But I do see these guys going the distance 9 times out of 10, if I'm being honest. And so yeah, over 4.5, and if anything, fight going the distance. That's right.
Fair enough. I mean, it's gone the distance 2 out of 3. So you say 9 out of 10. It actually has happened 2 out of 3. So you can't be mad at that. In the co-main, we got Glover Teixeira going up against Hill. Now, this is an interesting story of how we got here, right? This is interesting how we got here because we were talking before the show. I remember about a month ago when we had Jan Blachowicz, the former champion at this weight class, and he was fighting Ankalaev for what was at the time a vacant strap. And everyone thought, to be quite honest, a lot of people thought that this was kind of going to be Ankalaev's coming out party, that he was that next dude in this division, right, that everybody was worried about. But then it turned out to be a majority draw, and it looked like Dana White had egg on his face because the one thing they were trying to do was not have a vacant championship. They still had a vacant championship, even though Blachowicz in the post-fight was like, I don't know if I won that. I don't know if I lost that fight, but I definitely didn't win that fight. Literally, like there. In the octagon, being like, just give him the belt. It's all good. I've done what I needed to do. Tell me about your thoughts on that and kind of how we've arrived here at this matchup for the strap.
So what a mess.
It was a mess.
So Ankalaev, in my opinion, should be champ right now. I mean, Jan pretty much, because of the shame he felt after the fight, anyone's going to have pride and say, oh, no, I didn't lose that fight. But if you look yourself in the mirror, Jan, you lost that fight. So that's my opinion there. Now, why we're here is because Dana really had no other choice. I mean, what are you going to do? Give Ankalaev another opportunity? No, you just
run it back.
You can't really do that. Maybe they can run it back and have a rematch to see who faces this current champ after this matchup this weekend. But this is the reason we're here. Think about this. Glover, it wasn't even a thought whether he was even going to get a shot at another title. It was a maybe. It was an if. And Jamal Hill was set to be the co-main event in this card anyway, but he was never thought of as, oh, we're going for a title. He was still working on his way up to a title and still proving himself. Well, now he's at the ultimate proving ground. He's at the title shot. And here comes Glover, which just happens to be in Brazil. He's the next man up. Happens to be the next man up. And in my opinion, neither of these guys are going to be the best light heavyweight in the world after this weekend, because we still have Ankalaev out there. We still have fighters like that who, in my opinion, are the best light heavyweights in the world. These guys are just the ones that happen to get that golden ticket and the golden opportunity to win this weekend. That's pretty much all it is for me.
Interesting. So you still think maybe an Ankalaev is still that kind of guy in waiting, may get the championship shot. We'll see if it's against Teixeira or Hill. So let me ask you this. This seems to be, for me, there's an old adage in the fight game, style makes fight, right? Yeah. And to me, Glover is getting up there in age, taking it, it's like you said, in Brazil, but is he really up for this, or is there a path for him kind of if it stays on the mat, right? It seems to me when they're standing up, it may go one way, but if they're down on the ground, it may go another. Talk to me, because I know you like Glover to win this one. How do you see him doing this? What do you think is the actual way these styles match up?
So historically, Glover is a slow starter. He likes to box. He is a world-class black belt jiu-jitsu practitioner. He shows that in most of his fights. But one thing also that he has up his sleeve is he's a world-class wrestler. So he wrestles with the best of them. And in this fight, at his age, I'd say his least path of resistance is to go with his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Yes, he's going to stand, and yes, he's going to have confidence in his standing, because as many people, if you forget, he's been training with Alex Pereira, Poatan, the guy who just became the middleweight champion.
Gotcha.
And if anybody hits hard, it's Poatan. So for anyone saying, oh, we're going to test his chin, we're going to test whether Glover can take Jamal Hill's punches, I think he's tested. He's tested in the training room. And in this situation, if we're talking about levels, right, he has more experience. He's fought against fighters who have power. I mean, look at Anthony Rumble Johnson. Sure. It was the guy who put his lights out and showed him how to be patient in that octagon. And if you want to talk about narrative in this fight, Glover is right back where he made his debut for the UFC. He's back in Rio. Yeah. He's back with the redemption. He's going to, in my opinion, use his jiu-jitsu against a blue belt, because that's what Jamal Hill is, a blue belt. And Jamal Hill can be a black belt on his feet, and he can have that power and distance. But when you have a guy like Glover who's used to taking one, to give one, and to close that distance, right, I don't think that's really going to be an issue. Hey, listen, anything can happen. They're wearing 4-ounce gloves. That's a given. But in my opinion, I think Glover it's his fight to lose. Put it that way. Jamal Hill is on the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I mean, because to me, you talk about, of course, Glover Teixeira is tested, right? Like, he's been in the ring or the octagon, with a bunch of dudes. He has the career to show for it. And like you said, he'll eat one to kind of get in range, to kind of come on in. He's not going to be scared to kind of get, kind of inside, fight this in a phone booth or down on the floor. Now, one of the things, and I'll get more of your kind of analysis here on this fight, Drew, I love when I'm betting the fights, they do that double chance, right?
Yeah,
for the guy to win by either knockout or sub, or points or sub. And that is a way we can get a little bit of extra plus money, right? So if it sounds like you like Glover, it sounds like you think he's the kind of wily veteran who can kind of handle this, manage this, and that he's much better if they take it to the mat, right? So does that kind of add in for your double chance? Because that one is definitely a plus money.
Yes, that is actually the reason why I love this bet. It's my favorite bet of the week, of the whole card. It's Glover to win by sub or decision. Because if we're talking tools, right, that's his sharpest tool in the shed. It's the sub. And then, yes, he can win with his hands, but I don't think he's going to use his hands to try to knock him out unless he's doing ground and pound. So in my opinion, Glover gets this to the mat, finds a sub. If he doesn't find the sub, because Jamal Hill is very tough, as we've all seen, then he'll just win on the scorecards. Because if it gets to a decision, it's going to be very hard for a non-Brazilian to win this weekend. Right. That's just that.
That makes sense. It's a road game, shall we say, right? So you put all that together, the experience, the wrestling expertise, and the fact that we're going to have 10,000 Brazilians going absolutely bonkers for him. I like what you're doing here, so much so, Drew, this is your first time on Daily Bets, but I'm going to make your Teixeira by sub or decision at plus 160. I'm going to make it today's Daily Bets. Make it rain, daily bread of the day. That's what we like there, to be sure. So we're on that. But let me know if you think that's the double chance, right? But if you had to zone in on just one method of victory here, I know you're on Teixeira, but if it was just one method of victory, where would it go?
I mean, if you haven't guessed it already, I'm going to go with Teixeira by sub. It's at plus 225, which that is crazy, because let's game plan here, right? We're a coach. Okay, Tex, do you want to strike with this guy? No. Are you better at jiu-jitsu? Yes. Can you close the distance with your wrestling? Yes. And if you look at Jamal Hill's stance, which I go into a deep breakdown into it on my write-up, he stands at a bladed stance, almost karate style, leaving that single leg out there. Glove takes him down, and if it's not by the fence, I think he keeps him on his back and he finds a sub. That's pretty much where I feel.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Thank you for joining us, for your first time. We're definitely going to have you back to talk about the fight game. But Drew, you talked about your full write-up for this. How can the subs and everybody over here at FTN Bets, FTN Network, FTN Daily, how can we find kind of your analysis, your picks, and more thoughts in your write-up for this card on UFC 283?
Well, if you're not subbed up with FTN Bets already, you can use FTN.
You're allergic to money. Then you're allergic to money. That's pretty much what it is.
That's pretty much that is. And so if you're not allergic and you like money, just go to ftnbets.com or FTN Daily or the other sources he just mentioned. Use FTN MMA to get a discount on your membership, and you can get my daily write-up on DFS, on the bets, and pretty much everyone else across the board. So that's where you can find it. Right after this, actually, I'm going to finish writing up 2 more fights, and then I'm going to drop it on Twitter so you guys can find it there as well.
That's what's up. Make sure you follow him. You could also follow him on Twitter. You see the handles right there. Do me a favor, though, Drew. After you get the write-up, find me like some kind of dog on the card that you really like, and then just hit me personally in my DMs, okay? And let me know which dog has the best chance to actually pull off a win. Can you do that for me? And then this way, you come on back on Daily Bets, and we'll celebrate it. Your balance will be a little bit higher, and everybody here will be thank you for giving us that daily bread. But just send it to me, not to everybody, because then the numbers will start changing, you know, and all that juice will start going. You got to give it to me ahead of time. Cool?
I got you.
That's
for sure.
That's what's up. But thank you for joining the show for the first time. We'll be sure to have you back. We thank you also to Taylor Mathis as well, who got us going with some divisional round props. Tomorrow's edition of Daily Bets, like I mentioned, I'm going to be chopping it up with Benny Ricciardi, and we'll be looking at more plays for a divisional weekend. But for Taylor Mathis, for Andrew Valencia, who joined us today, I am merely the Spittin Statistician, Dane Martinez. Come on back tomorrow to get your fresh batch of daily bread right here on Daily Bets. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Take care.